Hi everyone, this is Zeke, and what we're going to cover right now is what pushing and pulling mean for our repository and our work. So let's review that, because in the segment right before this one, where we talked about branches, I actually had to do a push to get things to our GitHub repository. So one of the places where I like to recap things and just make sure that people understand as we start to build our understanding of what Git commands are and what we're doing is we started out our learning session segment by introducing you to what GitHub is on the web, and it's a remote repository. It is the image of our repository that is kept in a distinct place, not on our laptop, not on our peer's laptop. It's something that is shared, and it is in a location that isn't owned by one person. So the web or the cloud makes a great space for that. And some teams choose to locate that image internally on a server. So it may still be accessible via a browser, but you may be connecting to a internal hosted solution that may look exactly like GitHub, but it's an enterprise type of account. So you would make a distinction. You would see some differences to a public GitHub account. At that point, your team might actually have some rules or standards or policies on how you would access a private or corporate GitHub account that is located internally or even located on the web versus your public GitHub account. So make sure you get familiar with that differentiation. But in our example, we created a repository. It is situated as the remote repository on GitHub. And we went ahead and we created a branch and we did a push. And you also saw me in GitHub desktop doing things that I termed fetching things. So when we fetched, we were pulling things in. So what we were basically doing is on our machine locally, where we made changes and edits, we needed to communicate those changes and edits to the remote repository, which is on the web or on the cloud or somewhere in a server that is managed by our environment. Pushing and pulling is the action of connecting and reaching in and extracting or pulling back those changes, and pushing is doing the connection and pushing a copy of the changes we made for our branch or for our work to the remote repository. That action of pushing and pulling is what GitHub Desktop or Source Tree do for us, so that we can actually keep that image of that work situated. Let me find it for you here. Situated on the remote repository, so we have not exactly just a backup. It's not that alone, but it's we have the ability to share our progress, share our work with anybody else that may be using or collaborating on that repository. So one thing that I've liked to explain to people is you may be working on a project in a team environment, and so this image would make sense, where in a team environment we push and pull our code changes to the remote repository, so these other team members can benefit from seeing our progress and understanding if the work that we're doing is going to intercept or intersect as well with the work that they're doing. So in that situation, it's important for sharing and collaboration of why we would push and pull our commits and document well. But it's not only that. What I like to explain to people is by me situating my work in a remote repository and doing the right actions of taking my commits and everything else, I actually can work on my laptop at home, go to work at the office, which I know is tricky now with COVID and working from home, but go to work at the office and open up that desktop or that laptop and clone or pull from the remote repository all my work down so I'm ready to go. Or in another example, I may create a mess for myself accidentally on my laptop or in my local folders and feel like I really caused a big mess. And so, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Now I'm going to panic and I messed up my folders. Because I've kept up with my remote repository and I've tracked all my changes via commits and I'm pushing and pulling regularly, all I have to do in order to recover everything is just simply refresh my repository from the start. So that's kind of a reassuring sense of security or confidence that no matter where I'm at, and if I want to look at my code, if I want to take an idea of what I did recently, or just keep track of the changes that I've been making, or check if my colleagues are going too far ahead of me in some of the places that I'm working, um, having everybody push and pull correctly, having everybody take that correct action really does help out in terms of the collaboration and keeping up with the changes that are going on in the repository itself and the code itself and the development itself. So that encompasses what pushing and pulling is. And in a few segments here, we're really going to go through a full exercise in a kind of comprehensive way. But our next one is about what a pull request is. And we're going to talk about that because that's going to tie in what the comments and commits were there, and the actual pull request will take and finalize the actions that we've done with our pushing and pulling so that you can then understand where and how we mesh our branches together. So that's next.